Hello everyone, X-Wall-Kill Bethelite here, and we are just going on a little safari trip and talking about some of the flaws in Jehovah's Witness theology here. And one of the major flaws that they have is that I'm tossing feed out there. One of the major flaws that they have is that all the teachings from their past that were incorrect, essentially those teachings are non-Christian. False teachings are not Christian teachings. So all those teachings that Jehovah's Witnesses had in the past that were false and therefore unchristian, they don't want their membership doing any research on that or looking into it at all. However, anything and everything any other church other than them may have been involved in or may not have even been involved in, they search hard to try to find something. They search hard to try to find something wrong with that particular church. He's coming right on up here. So, for example, thinking that everything is pagan, right? That's a Jehovah's Witness concept, right? That everything is pagan. Hey, buddy, have some delicious feed here. Is that everything is pagan. All the teachings from other churches are pagan, and I don't even know why they necessarily think that. For example, the cross. There are Jehovah's Witnesses that believe that the cross is pagan, and for them to believe that, that means they would have to go back so far that they're looking into non-Christian times where something that looked like a cross was used, and they're connecting it with current Christian teaching. Well, there's something that Jehovah's Witnesses should understand, and that's what's called old light. Something taught a long time ago, Jehovah's Witnesses do not believe is relevant. They believe it's old light. We'll give you an example. When Jehovah's Witnesses used to teach that people were going to get resurrected, and old people from the Bible were going to get resurrected in our time, and well, they're going to need a mansion for those people to live at. All the famous people from the Bible, they need to build a mansion. That's what Watchtower taught back then. And they did. They built a mansion called Beth Sarim, and as we all know, that was a false teaching. No one was resurrected and ended up living in Watchtower's mansions that they were having built for people who were going to be resurrected. I mean, and as crazy and insane a teaching as that is, Jehovah's Witnesses remain a member of the cult because they say we just don't look at that. That's old light. It was a false teaching, but it's old light. And old light is something that is no longer taught, is no longer to them relevant, and you just don't look into it anymore. Well, then why exactly do Jehovah's Witnesses do that with other churches, where a cross is a Christian symbol? It represents what Jesus went through for mankind. And it's specifically noteworthy amongst Christians because the teaching is that Christ rose from the cross. He went through those sufferings for mankind, and then he rose from the dead, like he defeated the cross. So there's nothing about the cross that Christians teach that has anything to do with anything that's not Christian. Jehovah's Witnesses, however, will say that the cross is pagan because they're thinking about some old, ancient symbol from a long time ago that no one teaches about anymore. Well, Jehovah's Witness, if they were to apply the same rules to other churches that they enjoy, Jehovah's Witnesses would understand, hey, that's old light. All this old, ancient stuff that we're digging up about other churches and saying that they're wrong, primarily because you're digging up old stuff that nobody teaches, that's old light. Jehovah's Witnesses don't want anybody digging up old light on them, because if you dig up old light on Jehovah's Witnesses, you got end of the world predictions. 1975. Oh, let's just not talk about that. Let's just not talk about that. How about all the people that believed the generation of 1914 would not pass away before this apocalyptic end of the world came? Right? Jehovah's Witnesses are like, oh, let's just not talk about that. That's old light. That's old. That's from an old watchtower. Right? Well, all these things that Jehovah's Witnesses say about other churches, like, for example, celebrating Easter, well, that's pagan. Well, for them to say that, they're digging up old light. They're digging up stuff from old civilizations. Like, they're digging up stuff older than the watchtowers that, oh man, he's come close. They're digging up stuff older than the watchtowers that they don't want people to look into, right? Easter having anything to do with anything pagan, that darn near predates Christianity. That's older than Watchtower itself for you to look into anything that has anything to do with Easter that could possibly be what they call pagan. Well, you got to be looking, as a Jehovah's Witness, you got to be looking up old light. That's old. That's from some, if there's anything with regards to Easter or Christmas or any other kind of a holiday, if there's anything about a holiday that's not Christian for a Jehovah's Witness, that's because they're looking up what is called, to them, old light. And old light is something they're not supposed to be looking into. They're not supposed to look at old watchtowers and see that all watchtowers' teachings were false, that they were all wrong. They're not supposed to look into those things. Well, why do you do it to other churches? Halloween. There is no church in existence, no Christian church in existence that teaches anything about dead people coming alive during Halloween. But Jehovah's Witnesses will look up super old, what they would call super old light from a long time ago, probably a whole nother civilization, that used to think dead people were, I don't know, a little bit more active during what we would call Halloween. Right now, all Halloween is some kid dressing up like Buzz Lightyear and asking for candy. There's nothing wrong with dressing up like Buzz Lightyear and asking for candy. There's nothing wrong with dressing up like Black Panther and asking for candy. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But Jehovah's Witnesses are digging up old stuff. Super old stuff that even predates Christianity, and then blaming Christianity for it. Blaming Christianity for teachings that Christians don't even teach. Like Christmas, the tree having something to do with something some old civilization used to use for like the winter solstice or something like that. Well, that's old. That's old light. Nobody uses it for that stuff anymore. And I haven't been through this safari yet. You know, this is my first time through the safari, so I'm wanting to see zebras and all kinds of stuff like that. I don't know where exactly they are, though, because I haven't been through here before. And I can't just zoom to the zebras because I can only go 5 miles an hour here. But yes, why do Jehovah's Witnesses look up what is called old light on other churches, but their members are not allowed to look at the old light from Jehovah's Witnesses, from Watchtower? If Watchtower wants to erase all the things that they used to teach and have their members not look into it, calling it old light, oh, we don't look at old Watchtowers, we don't look at old articles. Well, why do they look at old stuff that is so old, Christian churches never taught it? They never taught it. There's no church at all that ever taught the winter solstice during Christmas. There's no Christian church that has ever taught it. Those holidays are used to teach about Christianity and only Christianity at these Christian churches. So why is Watchtower blaming them for something some old civilization used to teach a long time ago? It makes no sense. Well, if you're going to look that far back, older than the church itself, to try to find something wrong with the cross, you're going to try to look way back and predate Christianity to try to find something wrong with the cross. The same thing could be done with Jehovah's Witnesses, except for the difference is, instead of looking so far back in history, you're trying to find something that Christians never even taught. We can look back at some of the old Watchtower teachings that they did teach. Watchtower did teach false teachings. And the Bible talks about Jesus as being the truth, the way, and the life. Meaning you can't connect false teaching to him, which means you can't connect Watchtower to Jesus, because Watchtower taught false teachings. They just don't want to be held accountable to it for it. They want to call it old light and have people just move on. Like, move on, folks, move on. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Let's just look at some of the scenery, because I'm not seeing any animals yet. I got all this feed here. Look at all this feed I got here. This whole bag of feed. I got another bag of it sitting next to me. And we need to find some animals to feed. But it's just a simple question for Jehovah's Witnesses. I mean, they have current teachings that are wrong about overlapping generations. You know, and about kids that get molested need 2 witnesses before anybody should do anything. Like but they don't want anybody to look into any of these things. Right? That's okay for Watchtower to teach things that were flat out, bold-faced false. But if some other civilization used something that looked like a cross a long time ago, Christians don't. Christians never taught anything pagan about a cross. Well, then that is, we're now entering Tower Creek, whatever that is. If Christians taught something erase that. Christians never taught anything pagan. They never taught anything pagan about a cross other than things pertaining to Jesus. I want this car in front of me to go just faster, like your kids are blowing bubbles, and take the bubbles from them kids. They're getting on my nerves. But it's just not, it's not being honest. It's being intentionally dishonest. Saying that churches are pagan because of things that they never taught, but things that other civilizations before Christianity was well established, stuff they taught. But things that Watchtower did teach that were false, well, that's old light. Didn't Watchtower teach that black people would turn white in the paradise? That there would that in the paradise there wouldn't be any black people. And I'm sure that would include people of Latin, Mexican descent. Watchtower is pretty heavily reliant on black people and black and brown people. Well, wouldn't black and brown people love to know that Watchtower used to have separate kingdom halls for black folks? They used to segregate. And some of the teachings in Watchtower's past was flat out racist. Didn't they teach something about blacks having the curse of Cain? Isn't that a Watchtower teaching? Oh, but they don't want people to think about that no more. Don't think about that no more. Well, then you can't look up old stuff and then try to blame Christian churches for it. Right? Watchtower's got teachings they can't explain, like how in the world Jesus Christ is Michael the archangel when the Bible flat out says Jesus wasn't an angel. He wasn't an angel. Watchtower's got crazy teachings about Jesus being Michael the archangel, but they want to blame churches who have teachings in regards to the Trinity doctrine, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Well, you can't really call other people's teachings false when you teach people that the correct way to pronounce God's name literally is with the J, Jehovah. We all know that's not true. We all know that that is not true. What are these, Impala? I'm guessing. Literally guessing. that these might be Impala here. But I would love to, sometimes I want to have this discussion with Jehovah's Witnesses. Their teachings are littered with falsehood. And they're aware. They know their teachings are littered with falsehood. And Christians teach that the Trinity is the nature of God, and the nature of God is beyond the ability of humans to understand. They're not just going to understand how the Holy Ghost can be one with the Father and how the Son can be one with the Father. And Watchtowers wanting to say, no, that's not true. Jesus and Michael the Archangel is the same person. That's what's true. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. What made Watchtower the expert on Christianity and the expert on what is and what is not right? What made them the experts? Was it when they were teaching that blacks were cursed? When Watchtower used to teach that blacks were cursed and had the curse of Cain? That's in those old Watchtower and Awake teachings. Was it when Watchtower used to teach that Jehovah specifically lived at a particular galaxy? I remember reading that in one of the old articles where Jehovah, Charles Taze Russell believed that Jehovah lived specifically at a specific galaxy that you could probably look at in a telescope and see where Jehovah lived. Like, these are the people that are telling other Christians what is and what is not true? Really? Their founder used to think he could look at pyramids and predict stuff. These are the people that think that they can tell Christians what is and what is not true. The same people whose founder used to look at pyramids and had writings called Studies in the Scriptures that Jehovah's Witnesses don't even use anymore. They're like, okay, everybody associated with Watchtower, their teachings were all false, but we want to be the experts and tell Christians what is and what is not true. Watchtower don't know any more about the Trinity than anybody else. Watchtower does not know whether the Trinity is true or false because they cannot get their own teachings right. Does that make any sense? Does that make any sense? Think about it like this. If I am in school and I get really bad grades, I get F's on my math assignments, like straight up, and my math assignments, and you look at my old assignments, all you see is stuff that was wrong. You just see red marks. Matter of fact, it's so embarrassing, I don't want you to look at my old assignments. Well, does it make sense that me, with all the F's and things I used to get on my assignments, I should be the one to grade other people's math assignments? Right? Does it make any sense? So if I get F's on my math assignments or my old math tests, you just see a lot of things wrong. It was all incorrect. My math tests were just all incorrect. Just like Watchtower, all those teachings were incorrect. Black people weren't cursed. They didn't have the curse of Cain like Watchtower used to teach. Jehovah didn't live on a specific galaxy or planet that they done thought that they figured out. Charles Taze Russell apparently wasn't the faithful and discreet slave because they changed it to it being a class. Like, the generation of 1914 is not what was not going to pass away before the end of the world came. Like, they've got a history of false teachings. They're just getting F's on all their tests. Well, is that the student you think needs to be grading all the other churches and telling us what is and what is not wrong, or what is and what's not true? Really, the student who gets the worst grades, the student that got all their old tests wrong, that's who's grading everybody else? So Watchtower, Jehovah's Witnesses, they're not even supposed to look into their old teachings because they were all wrong. And yet Jehovah's Witnesses want to tell other churches and essentially grade their teachings as to what is and what is not wrong. I want to ride on the Kawasaki there. Comment down below. Explain this to me. All this stuff that Watchtower says about other churches, most of it can be explained in Watchtower terms as old light. Old stuff that no Christian church teaches. No Christian church teaches anything about Christmas other than Christianity. No church teaches anything about a cross other than Christianity. So anything Watchtower is telling you about it being pagan, that's what Watchtower should say is old light. Don't look into that stuff. That stuff was wrong, right? It was wrong stuff that some other civilization used to teach, but Christians don't even teach it. And if there is something that a church teaches that you do or don't agree with, for example, the Catholic Church teaches that the Bishop of Rome has got more authority than anybody else. Essentially, and he's chilling over there by himself. Essentially, that they are the Catholic Church is the head of all other churches because the Bishop of Rome is supposed to be having more authority than anybody else. Well, if you don't agree with it, then you don't agree with it. But Jehovah's Witnesses are in no position to be critical of somebody else's teachings when their teachings are borderline ridiculous. Like, not borderline ridiculous, they are ridiculous. And Watchtower teachings are dumb, that God is going to kill everybody except for Jehovah's Witnesses. And we all know, don't try to lie, we all know that we used to believe that God was going to kill everybody except Jehovah's Witnesses, and then we were going to go into all these dead people's houses, clean out all their stuff, and live in them. So while Jehovah's Witnesses were going from door to door, we're looking at houses, scoping out houses, right? Because God is going to, any day now, destroy all these people who aren't Jehovah's Witnesses, and then we just get to go and move into their houses. Like, you can't believe stuff like this and be critical of anybody else. You can't, y'all can't talk about nobody else with teachings like that. So comment down below, let me know what you think. X Wall Kill Bethelite signing out.